Good morning, everyone. Producers, I'm just confirming am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, good morning, everyone. So, if you think the internet has changed your life, well, yes, it has. And surely the Internet of Things is about to change it all over again. Yeah, they say the change is constant. So, we are expected to see this huge change. Seems like everybody is talking about Internet of Things, IoT, the good, the bad, the alarming alarms of the lines. It's the beginning of machines taking over the world. The IoT is when everyday products such as refrigerators, watches, speakers, and more connect to the internet and to one another. They say that as the Homo sapien is changing, has changed, has evolved. It's now the human beings have become smart. So when the human beings have become smart, so should the devices be. So should be his accessories be. And this is where the Internet of Things is coming into picture. It is already transforming our homes, our workplaces, surely. And this is why we have this refresher homes. Okay. So, Mahavir Education Trust, Shahan Anchor Kachi Engineering College's IT department welcomes you all in the inauguration ceremony of the refresher program on developing secure IoT applications. And we are glad to announce that it is funded by AICTE IST and organized by Information Technology Department of Shahan Anchor. Yeah. As they say, every beginning has to be with a blessing. Okay. So when we start anything, we seek blessings. We just be stable for some time, focus. Because see, when we start something new, we have to put in our energies into it. And if we just start like that, it might not go right. So we should be taking blessings. And here we'll take blessings from Saraswati and go ahead. So we would, it is a great pleasure for me to introduce our esteemed dignitary for today's inauguration, Mr. Abhijit Umate. We are really honored to have you, sir. He is a Chief Executive Officer, CEO of Eco Hotels, UK. Ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Abhijit Umate, sir. We are looking forward for your session, sir. We would also like to welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Vikrant Sanke. He's a thought leader, energy professional, technology and business executive, key account management, marketing and strategy, digital and analytics in IoT, and is also a mentor. Welcome, sir. And to welcome these two dignitaries, I would request our principal, sir, Dr. Bhavesh Patel, who is a pioneer and who is a visionary to take this institution ahead. And please, sir, enlighten us with your thoughts, motivate us with your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kanti. Very happy morning to all of you. So, departments, registrar, the vice principal, Dr. Vinit Kota, the faculty members, team behind this, STTP, and our today's chief guest, Mr. Abhijit Umathe and Mr. Vikrant Saruke. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome all of you, including not the least, but all the participants without whom this program and the event would have been not happening. So I welcome all of you on behalf of institution and personal. As it is said that now the things are changing. Earlier, we used to work from office and now many of us are working from home. Earlier, the physical STTPs used to happen, and now it is a new concept like AICT and IST has sponsored this program on an online mode. When we applied, it was on an offline mode, and now things have changed. So I believe that now, as it is work from home, work from anywhere is going to be the new funda, and similarly, it will be learning from anywhere. We are experiencing work from home, to work from anywhere, and to learn from anywhere. the things are going to change very rapidly. During this pandemic time, we have also understood the importance of IoT applications because there have been the ample of applications which have been used, developed, and updated into the medical field. So it has proved its importance on the life of human as well as in allied areas. There are a lot of areas on which the IoT applications can be made and it is being used. Now the developing part is continual process. Before we use, we have to ensure that it is secure. So this STTP is focusing on developing of secured IoT applications. And I thank IST and AICT for funding this STTP. And we have the best speakers during this STTP, as you can see, inaugurating program. That today's program is being handled by the two of the most knowledgeable people that we have, Mr. Abhijit and Mr. Vikrant, who will be sharing their knowledge. I'm sure that this will be beginning of a new area in our education system and the knowledge which we'll be gaining in these 5 days, including the practical knowledge, imparted to the students and students will able to learn the developing of IoT applications, which will not only help the institutions or students or teachers, but it will help on a large level of society, state, country, and across the globe. Because the future is going to be on IoT and internet that we are experiencing today. It will have great importance and great impact on our individual lives. And we are now beginning to learn that, and then it will be implemented, and then we'll have a fruit of success in a very short span. So I wish all the best to all the participants and wish you all a happy learning from anywhere. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your visionary thoughts. As you always say that when the faculties learn, it will be propagated well to students, and you put it again today. Thank you so much. And moving to the inaugural session, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce Mr. Umathe, Mr. Abhijit Umathe. He is CEO of EcoHotelsGlobal.com, a pioneer in eco-friendly hospitality. He is an expert in hospitality industry in Mumbai and over 30 years of experience, a wide experience. He currently leads a team which is creating an eco-friendly carbon neutral hotel chain. He is passionate about cooking, biodynamics, farming, and avid seeker of new age technology. With a sense of purpose and a strong perspective, Avijit sir is always happy to lend a helping hand to seekers in the world. He is passionate to create sustainable solutions stemming from ever changing needs of hospitality and industry. So there are many resource persons who are extremely great or extremely pioneers in their area of work, but keeping it to sustainable, lending a helping hand is really a great thing that we are so happy to have you here and we are so lucky to have you here. I'm very sure this session will be best taking session for all of us. Before I hand over to our speakers, I have a few announcements for participants. Participants, if you have queries between the sessions, please write in. You can write in the chat, and then it will be as per sir's convenience. So if sir wants to take it live, it can be taken live, or it can write it in the chat. And also feedback link and other details, all other information will be given to you by the coordinators at the end of session. So thank you so much and over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me and see me as well?
Yes,
I hope
sir.
you can hear me and see me. Yeah, okay. So first of all, I thank Mr. Patel for inviting me here on this platform, and you all have said such amazing things about me. I'm wondering if I'm the same person because I don't recognize a lot of that stuff, but here I am, and I'm happy to share my views. So I would begin with a disclaimer. I'm not a tech person, but I always believe that technology is not for the sake of technology. It is for the dummies, like I call myself, people like me who actually use it in business and life to make something out of it. So in a way, I'm very happy that I'm able to share certain things. And so yes, welcome to all the participants, and I hope this is a very interactive session. And before this, that I've had a chance to sit in on a couple of mentoring teams who are working for real life projects from Sake, and the faculty and the students are really amazing. And the work from anywhere concept and learn from anywhere concept, I've been a participant in both of them along with the students of this college, and it was a huge learning experience for me. How open mind and can lead to so many possibilities. So without further ado, I will now move on to my presentation, which is allow it a moment to upload. It's a little slow, looks like the internet. Okay, I hope the presentation slide is visible to everyone. So the top, this is not the topic of my presentation, but this is the topic of the refresher program that you're having, developing secure IoT applications. But I'm going to focus more a bit on the IoT part, and I'm going to share a small story. When Ilakshi ji invited me for this to speak a few days ago, my thing was like, I don't know much about IoT. It's very technically oriented. I'm always afraid to speak to professors and teachers because they know much more than any of us, and they're at the, she said, no, nothing. Go ahead and speak what you like. So I said, I will take some creative liberty and start with, in a very different way. So my, IoT can mean different things to different people, but I thought let's take a little humorous take. So what is IoT security? Can I interest in you in a firewall for your toaster? Is that IoT security? Definitely not. Is IoT going to replace my wife who keeps telling me, I told you to pick up milk on the way and you didn't listen. You don't listen anything to what I have to say. So, this is a very wide topic, and it has different dimensions with interactions with different kinds of human beings. It can have different meanings. So what is the Internet of Things? Internet of Things is actually well depicted in this cartoon here, where a bunch of devices are telling, in this case, they are doing a good thing. They're warning people that you're at the end of the sidewalk, or you're going to bump into a parking meter, or whatever it be. So it's basically a complex network of interactive and technical components clustered around sensors, information processors, and actuators. So this is just the jumbling of information in real time, going up and down, and then handling exceptions and handling situations and giving up the right solutions or responses or options. So Internet of Things allows action at a distance, and it gives the objects ability to communicate among themselves, and this is what gives a real power to the internet. The internet took so many years to pervade our life, but without realizing we are already in the midst of IoT. So how IoT can impact us? This is a Google AdWords can use IoT to pitch you a fire extinguisher and offer you a temporary housing just because it detected a fire alarm or a smoke alarm going off in your building. Now, this is how far IoT can take you if not used in the correct way, because eventually it is how we use it. So it is going to change and transform everything from business to life. Imaginations are boundless and opportunities are infinite. So this is where the role of the teachers comes into play. Are we going to because the imagination can run really wild, but how is it that we are going to build all our platforms on the right value systems? And in terms of how you define things like security, a little more on that little later. But the concept is that you have a tool. We have heard कि हिंदी में कहावत है बंदर के हाथ में तलवार. So this is a very, very powerful talwar that we are creating. It's the most potent weapon that will be there. It has different kinds of implications. So it is the bandars that we are training now, all of us, how we are going to use this is what is going to be like really critical for all of us. A great man said, Steve Jobs, technology is nothing. What is important is that you have faith in people, that they're basically good and smart, and if you give them tools, they'll do wonderful things with them. Our job here as teachers and leaders in business is to actually create those wonderful people who will do wonderful things with them. Now, this whole thing about smartness has been overstated and overrated and overdone, I think, at times. Because, is it really the smart thing to be able to switch on your washing machine when you're away from home, or the person also has a real life problem of picking up things off the floor and washing and hanging them? And how far can we take this? So, a lot was written about Internet of things, and I like to go back instead of looking at the future, a step back a little bit to understand what different things were said. So a Goldman Sachs report in 2014 said that by 2020 we would be IoT opportunity could be amounting to around out. But however, I've put together a little bit of data sets in terms of where IoT is headed, which are the different elements within that which are faster growing, slower growing, which are the areas and stuff like that. And I will share that information in the next slide. What is the current state of IoT? So this graphic, there is a website called IoT Analytics, which you can all refer to. It produces nice reports, and mostly they are paid reports, but this is the report which is publicly available. I'm taking from. So if you look at 2010, where this started, IoT was hardly a minuscule percentage of things, and the number of users wise, and see now suddenly in 2020 we have more IoT connected devices than the IoT non-connected devices. Okay, there are more IoT connections today, example connected cars, smartphones, smart home devices, industrial equipment, than there are non-IoT connections. Non-IoT connections are smartphones, laptops, and computers. And that is a very, very telling statistic. 21.7 billion active connected devices worldwide. Out of that, 54% are IoT devices. So definitely already the big thing, not the next big thing, and by 2025, they are expected to be more than 30 billion devices. That is roughly around 4 per human. So what are the different growth areas in IoT? So unfortunately, not very large, but the main sectors of growth are first is country-wise. Today, China has 75% of the world's IoT connected devices, largely because their government is looking at it very differently compared to other democratic setups, and that is their thrust area for quest for global power. So they probably are making a lot of compromises in the areas of ethics and privacy, and that's how they're able to grow faster compared to other people. Personal and home devices are, driving the thing. Fitness wearables have accelerated your home automation devices, your Alexas and Google Homes. And LPWAs, more on that in the next slide. Going forward, IoT devices are expected to continue to grow much faster than the quasi-saturated market of non-IoT devices. So if we are having a seminar on that, we are doing the right thing at the right time. And the current forecast is that there will be around 31 billion connected devices by 2025. And all this technology will be further accelerated by 5G. There are reasons for that, because 5G is where you will be able to see the artificial intelligence and virtual reality really take off because of the speed and the bandwidth available. So global cellular IoT connections. Okay, so China has moved to the forefront of cellular IoT connections. The Chinese dominance can be attributed to the digital push by the government. And China views the adoption of 5G and NB-IoT as a competitive asset in the quest for global domination. Not equilibrium and all that is all right to say, but so if you see here, these are all actually the Chinese companies. I'm unable to. So as my mouse, I don't know if you're able to see my mouse pass over this graphic, but from this red end, it comes all the way here, and that's roughly around 75-76% of the market is devices. Okay, one of the surprising trends of this market was the low power wide area networks. Pretty much nobody had heard of them in around 2010 to 15. There was some mention or some growth, but 2015 to 2020, this segment has really gone. And there is actually a race on in a couple of ecosystems which works, the LoRaWAN and the NB-IoT. So LoRa is the unlicensed spectrum, and NB-IoT is the licensed spectrum, mostly driven by leading technology communication firms around the world. And they're not very far away from each other. They're basically having almost equal market share, and together they dominate around 84% of the market. So, I mean, again, want to work in the unlicensed spectrum or the licensed spectrum is going to be a debate in the future. So where we are today, we are drowning in information, but we are starved for knowledge. So what is it that we can do as faculty or as people who are next thought process in this world? Because if we are already overloaded in information, just imagine there are going to be 4 IoT devices per human being in this world, and the amount of information overload that we are going to get. So information for information's sake is not really going to help us. We need to have the deeper understanding of knowledge. So as a faculty, it will be very difficult for all of you to keep that in touch with the latest technologies, because technologies that were developed 10 years ago get commercially deployed 10 to 15 years later. Their applications come out much later. So what is it that as teachers we can do? I think that as teachers, as things start getting more dynamic and move faster, our focus has to be more on the fundamentals. And the fundamental of teaching is not just limited to giving the technical skills, but it is going to be more about the softer aspects, providing the right kind of discernment, providing the patience and the diligence required, because things will keep changing very fast, and people their focus also will shift. So we have to get in a certain rigor and certain discipline and build a society of young students going forward who are based in ethics and principles, who understand that data security is not getting just some firewall for your toaster, but the data going from that toaster can reveal a lot of personal information about a person, and that is what needs to be protected. It is this kind of discernment that is what is most important. So that is one aspect. Secondly, in terms of the future, I was reading a report by UBS Wealth, which is the world's biggest private wealth manager, Mr. Hafley. And among the 4 future trends in the world, he did a study, or rather UBS did a study. And they talked about what were the growth sectors in the past 25 years or past 50 years. And they said any sector that has grown for 10 years at the rate of 25% is unable to grow at the same rate in the going future. So technology by itself, now the days of the technology valuations are gone. Okay, it is important to let students know that those kind of valuations and those kind of things are going to be little rare, but tech-enabled businesses, technology for technology's sake is not going to really get you the results, but tech-enabled businesses will help you grow faster. So the 4 growth areas which will grow at more than 25% in terms of valuation, etc., for the next 10 to 20 years are 5G technology and the entire ecosystem around 5G technology. 5G is going to obviously drive artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and a lot of IoT, because most of the IoT devices eventually will be connected more through the mobile telecommunication as compared to the other ways. The second aspect that's going to grow is fintech. So what COVID has done is accelerated the use of digital technologies, digital platforms. Even in the hospitality industry, we are now looking at autonomous availment of services, where it was about actually going and fussing around the guest. The COVID has changed the model. It's more about autonomously availment of services. So even in fintech, a lot of the distribution and a lot of the way things are happening is going to change a lot. India has been clocking up very, very high amounts of digital transactions. Phone Pay, Paytm, Bheem, all these things and the technology is so cheap that you're able to do a 50, 20, 30, 50, 100 rupee transaction. Earlier, only credit cards were used for very high value transactions, etc. But with the smaller apps, we are making small payments of even 50 rupees, 10 rupees, because the cost of transaction has come down. The other aspect that technology is going to work is that there is a millennial anxiety about climate change, and that has only exacerbated. It has increased in this time frame of COVID. And the governments are now taking, the politicians, they know which way the wind is blowing. Suddenly, if you look at 6 months ago, nobody was bothered about climate change. The Kyoto protocol is going on since many years. Now, during COVID, governments are suddenly giving out targets about when they are going to become climate neutral, which means that the climate neutral means that the human activities, all of them, including living, we breathe out carbon dioxide, we create a carbon footprint. But even beyond just our existence, whatever we do, whether we are having this webinar and we haven't used a car to travel, but we are burning up some electricity consuming power, so there is a carbon footprint to our webinar, which might be lower than if it is in the physical realm. So there are only two ways to manage this. Carbon dioxide is warming up the environment. So one is to reduce the production of the greenhouse gases, GHGs as they're called, and the other thing is offsetting them by creating newer technologies, which or just a simple thing like afforestation. So governments are now aware that the younger citizens are now very, very anxious about climate because they have to bear the brunt while the politicians are much older. So some of the smart politicians have started realizing that this is a constituency we have to cater to, and they have all given out goals. Like for example, I think France, Japan, UK, and some other countries have said by 2050 they'll be climate neutral. So carbon dioxide production will be offset completely by oxygen production or something like that. Okay, or absorption of carbon dioxide produced. Even China, which is one of the obviously industrial warehouses of the world, has a higher carbon footprint. They have given a target for 2060. So clean tech and green tech enabled by technology and IoT would have a huge role to play in that. For example, in our hotels, we are already going to deploy technology with motion sensors. Also, we're going to deploy where we can know the level of carbon monoxide in a room and stuff like that, and we're going to monitor that. So although there is an investment in the device, but overall in the long run, we will end up saving up to, we have studied that up to 50 to 60% of electricity. Now that is our goal towards carbon neutralization. So we are using technology in a real way. This technology is used for something else, is available for something else, but now we are going to deploy it in our rooms, in our hotels, to increase the efficiency of the lifts, the efficiency of the air conditioning, reduction in consumption of all kinds of utilities like electricity, water, and even wastage of food. Algorithms are being developed where we plan better for food and stuff like that. But in the hotel industry, we are very, very aware of the privacy of our guests because it's going to directly hit us. So that's where we are. We are running in information, and we are getting more and more staff for knowledge. So I think the platform here is actually well suited to address the need, the starving for knowledge, and the fundamentals. So as we reach for the sky, we have to grow deeper roots, and I think all of you have a huge, or all of us have a huge role to play in that. And that's pretty much what I had to say. And thank you for this opportunity, and thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much. These two words of gratitude, thank you, are too less for the motivation that you've created, the humble nature that you show, and at the same time, you've created the awareness for us because, as we say, IoT is the future, and we are to train the future students. So we have to shoulder a great responsibility. That is what I could understand as a teacher. And for thanking you, I would request Dr. Vinit Kotak, who is a professor in electronics engineering department, to please come online.
Thank you, Dr. Kranti. On behalf of our management and principal, Dr. Bhavesh Patel, sir, I take this opportunity to thank you for the wonderful talk which you gave and enlightened us, all of us. Especially the 4 points which you mentioned, sir, how relevant is in today's world. Specifically, the first one which you mentioned about is the 5G tech and its ecosystem. The way you mentioned about the fintech services, how it has affected it has brought a digital disruption during this COVID-19, and also the anxiety of climate, the COVID-19, and our vision has actually changed. And lastly, the most important, the very sensitive issue which you pointed out was about the carbon neutralization. And it's not just during this COVID. Actually, it has been there since ages. But how nicely you put it in a very summarized way that by the use of IoT technology, this can actually be offsetted. And this is how participants must have definitely enlightened. One personal thing which I would like to thank you, and the way and the point which you actually made us teachers learn that how you can make a technological topic, very simple in a very humorous way, the way you presented it. So it was very wonderful, and thank you so much for that. Yes, we are teachers, and teachers always get to learn something time. And when we have experts like you, specifically from the hospitality industry, sir, we Indians have this, we have been taught this culture of Atithi Deva Bhava. But today, you have actually helped us in balancing both the culture as well as technology and how it can be very nicely implemented. So thank you so much from the bottom of our heart, sir. And looking forward for many more such interactions with our institution and very fruitful and long-term relationships with you. I also take this opportunity to thank the participants and wishing them all the best for the coming refresher program. And I hope that you have a wonderful time. Thank you so much. Over to you, Kranti ma'am.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kotak, sir. So we now request you to kindly accept this virtual memento from all of us as a token of gratitude, as a token of appreciation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Accepted with full gratitude. I love this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Sir.
So kind of you, sir. Thank you.
So since you have created such a nice motivation, that you have created an environment which we should go ahead and learn a lot of things. Without wasting any time, we would go to our next session, and we're really privileged to have with us Mr. Vikrant Sankhe, who is a CNG Fellow IIT. He's a thought leader, he's an energy professional, technology and business executive, key accountant management, marketing and strategy, evangelist digitalization, analytics IoT mentor. He is a marketing and strategy head at Siemens Limited. He's a multifaceted leader with over 22 years of energy industry experience in electrification, automation, M2M/IoT, analytics, and digitalization. He has diverse roles across the value chain, including engineering, consulting, project management, sales, business development, and business management. At Siemens, he is responsible for strategy and leading team of senior accountant managers, focusing and advising strategic customers in oil and gas segment on the journey of electrification, automation towards digitalization. So you have seen a complete era. I think you have a entire the change, the concept drift that is there. You've seen it entirely, and we are lucky to have you as a speaker. Continuing ahead with his introduction, in his previous stints, he was associated with Tata Power, ABB, and IBM. He's a postgraduate in business management from Mumbai University and successfully completed executive management from Singapore Management University. He has completed UG and PG in graduation in electronics engineering from VJTI and Pune University respectively. He is also a qualified chartered engineer from Engineering Council of UK, becoming the first youngest chartered engineer from India. He has achieved fellowship of the Institutions of Engineering and Technology, UK, one of the 100 globally and only from India to achieve fellowship at age below 40 years, and is a member of IoT India panel. An active speaker in industry conferences and author of many papers in national and international conferences, Sir has been recognized as IoT thought leader by IoT India Congress. Sir is also an industry advisory committee for various engineering colleges and mentoring various IoT startups. He's lot, as I've already mentioned, he has a lot of publications. Along with that, he has a lot of honors and arts awards to his cap. So, IoT Thought Leaders, Managers Choice Award, IBM's Appreciation Program, Managers Choice Award, Fellow of the Institution of Engineers, I already mentioned, and a lot of certifications to his back. So, if we go ahead with his introduction, it's going to be a really long one. So, sir, more than introduction, we would like to hear from you. We are really anxious to hear from you. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Just a couple of words. So if you look at, or what we are hearing is big numbers, right? We are hearing billions of devices. We are talking about $1 trillion economy, the exponential growth in the IoT systems, and actually a very, very big number, right? And if you look at these big numbers, this is also driving, I'll say, a cheaper production, or I'll say economical production of devices. And when it comes to a cost reduction of devices, the most sacrifice feature is security. Yeah, I think economics works, I think, in an opposite way when it comes to the security aspect. There are a couple of examples. If you look at the Ukraine shutdown, so hackers about 2 years back have demonstrated hacking about 30 substations of Ukraine, and about 200,000, I'll say, people who are connected have gone to a blackout mode. They have actually hacked the entire system. They deleted the master data. They hacked the telephone system, and Ukraine, I'll say, electricity board took about 3 to 4 hours just to restore back their, I'll say, power. I mean, with this security at sacrifice mode, I think the hackers will not demonstrate stealing the money or stealing the data. It can be more dangerous. It can be even hijacking any vehicle. And point in case is that researcher in US have demonstrated hijacking a Jeep SUV over a CAN bus protocol, and they use the Sprint telecom network. And then they demonstrated that they can speed up, they can slow down, or they can even veer off the vehicle. And these are a couple of examples which demonstrate how severe the IoT becomes. I mean, it may not remain that Internet of Things, but it can become the Internet of Threats, right? So that is where the topic of your that how you can deliver or how you can develop the IoT with security aspect is very, very important. Before I start presentation, just a small quote. So there was one economist called Warren from US, and once he quipped that future of the factory will have only 2 employees. Now one will be the man and another will be the dog. So man is to feed the dog, and dog is to keep man away from. Are you able to see the presentation now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what I will cover, I'll basically talk about how the digitalization is changing in the industry, where we are and where we are moving towards. Very quick example of I'll take, since I'm from energy industry, I'll take how it has been evolved in the, I'll say, power industry very quickly. And then we can deliberate more on couple of live use cases or references, and maybe there I'll end my session. So if you look at digitalization, definitely it is transforming the entire global value chains. Let's start with current scenario. So if you look at today, take the example of Mumbai. So Reliance, or now it is Adani. So they have one generation station at Dahanu, which is a centralized location. And from there, they are supplying, I'll say, power to most of the Mumbai suburbs. Now, from the centralized generation, the era we are moving to decentralized or more fluctuating, because we are talking about microgrids, we are talking about renewable energy. And when we talk about renewable energy, it is not only decentralized because it can be anywhere, but it is also going to put a lot of pressure on the stable grid because of its fluctuating nature. So if you look at solar or wind, you cannot predict that it is going to be there continuously. It depends on the nature. So that is how it will fluctuate the overall power generation scenario. Take the next example, that today we are buying cars, and maybe each manufacturer has a couple of models and we have to choose among them. So it is kind of a mass production. Now from mass production, we are slowly moving to a mass personalization. If I take the example of India, Maruti Suzuki, they have introduced iCreate for their Vitara Brezza, and with which you can actually configure your car for, you can personalize your car with 90 odd combinations. In fact, we have worked with luxury car manufacturers, Maserati, where we are working for about 70,000 odd personal combinations. And that's how it is moving from, I'll say, a mass production to mass personalization. If you have started reading some of the articles on Industry 5.0, although we are at Industry 4.0, but the era of 5.0 has also started kicking in, and that era is focusing on mass personalization. So that's where we are moving. Take another example. So when I started my career, we used to get into a maintenance on a periodic interval. So every year a big machine will be taken out for maintenance. I remember my olden days in Tata Power, and whether it is maintenance is required or not, we used to carry out the scheduled maintenance, and we used to put the machine back in the system. But from the fixed interval maintenance, we are now moving to real-time online services. Here we are not now doing, I'll say, periodic or scheduled maintenance. But what we are doing is that looking at the current health of the equipment, we decide whether the equipment to be taken out for maintenance now, or it can still run for a couple of thousand hours, and we can utilize its production capacity. So that's how the value chain, and it is changing value chain in all industries. You name it, and everywhere you will see an impact of digitalization. And IoT is one of the biggest aspect in this. Maybe talk about various digitalization technology. We talk about analytics, we talk about AI, VR, simulation tools, twin, security, connectivity, cloud, all those. And what are these? Ultimately, I wanted to give you a very basic concept, and this you will remember for each of this technology, and this applies across entire digitalization value chain. So I refer this concept as 5I concept. Yeah. So the first, and I'll say the basic I is instrumentation. When we talk about IoT, you have to measure the data and you need to have sensor. So the first I is the instrumentation. By instrumentation or by sensor, you are measuring the data. Once you, I'll say, you have put the instrumentation in place or sensor in place, you need to take the data, and that's where your connectivity comes in picture. So it could be a last mile connectivity, it could be a LAN, it could be a WAN, or it could be a internet, and depends on the application, you will choose the way of interconnection. You are now started collecting the information. So it is the data transmitted over a net and the information is collected. It's humongous, I'll say, information. And this information will have no role, or it will be of no use unless and until you dig the insights from the information. And that's where you require the fourth and very, very important eye, and which I'll say differentiate this from any other is intelligence. Unless and until you have intelligence or insights out of information, digitalization will not kick in, or it will not give its benefits. Yeah. And then the fifth and very important I is IT security. Yeah. So let's look at very quickly the energy industry and how IoT has evolved. So as I said, this is a typical power flow diagram. And as I said, Adani or Reliance earlier, they have one generation plant in Dahanu. Then they have about 5 to 6 transmission stations from where the generated power is transmitted to Mumbai. There's around 7 or 8. So it is, I'll say, in the range of tens. Then this transmission station with you have receiving stations all across Mumbai. If you look at these receiving stations, these are in the range of hundreds. To be very precise, 68 to 70 numbers for Adani in Mumbai. From this receiving station, we have distribution station, which are, if you are staying in a big complex, you will see a small room with transformer and the switching unit. So those are called distribution stations, and those are in the range of 5,000 to 10,000. And then at the end, the power consumers, that is all of us, and those are in millions. So if you look at the power flow, it is 1, 10, 100, thousands, and it is not 10,000s or 100,000s. It is directly going to millions. Yeah, so that's how and this is a typical, I'll say, single line for Mumbai network. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but when I started my career in Tata Power, we used to have this kind of a control room. So this is a control room where I'll say a static control room where we have drawn how the network flows, and we have put instrumentation for very, very critical equipment. And since the I'll say communication, that time fiber optic has just started, or maybe a hardwire communication were very costly. We were covering it only for the generation and transmission stations, which are in the range of 1 or 10s. Yeah. Then the era of computer started. So this is actual photograph of Reliance. So now Adani is, I'll say, control station at RA. And when the era of computer started, we have moved from that static diagram to a dynamic diagram. And we have moved from those 10 numbers of generation and transmission to 100 numbers of receiving station. So till this time, I'll say in charge of this system is either a operation or mainly operations, and to limited extent the maintenance crew. Then in 2000, when the mobile era started, we have expanded this system to 10,000s of distribution station. I mean, I remember in Tata Power and even in Reliance, Tata Power was first to introduce this way back in 2003. And we that time covered about 2,000 of such stations over a mobile communication. We earlier used BPL GSM, and then we switched to Tata Indicom CDMA. But that's how the technology started becoming affordable, and you started spreading it from the 1 or 10 numbers of stations to I'll say thousands of I'll say distribution stations. Even here the maintenance crew, I'll say more people from maintenance crew got engaged. Everything was available on their mobile or on their pads, and they were able to detect and address the failures. And if you look at now, the millions of consumers are there, and we are able to see our meter reading online. And now the stakeholders are gone beyond the corporate. So earlier, if you look at example, we were having the operations and maintenance crew, and those are from that particular company. Now, since consumers have started playing a role or retailers have started playing a role, the area has gone beyond. So here the stakeholders have become exponentially high. Those are from those 10 or thousands, it has gone to a million kind of a scenario. Uh, then the system got interacted, or I'll say integrated with third-party system like GIS, Geographical Information System, or ERP from SAP, or OMS module, or Customer Information System. So the earlier, if you look at the network, it was closed network. Now it has become kind of an open network. And this network have put up, I'll say, two challenges. One is to handle the exponential growth in a data, because with limited numbers of substation, you are very well managing it. But now you have to manage about millions of, I'll say, consumers' data, and there has been an exponential growth. The second is that it also, I'll say, created a risk scenario from a security perspective, because you are allowing your network to be uh, interacted by consumers, the third party retailers, or even you are interacting or integrating your system with third party, I'll say, softwares like GIS. So GIS is not manufactured by the utility company, or ERP is not manufactured by utility. So you are actually integrating it with third party. Yeah, so that's typical scenario. So that's how it has been evolved. Yeah. Now let's see. As Avinash also has said, IoT is not technology, and I am a firm believer of that, because technology is all given. We have seen that IoT is not new. It is a buzzword now, and it is coming into a reality. But the example of power industry, where I have shown you when I started my career in 1998, we still used to have IoT in a different format, and we are again using IoT at its full strength because of the technology. So technology is given, but the important strength of IoT is that how you create a business value proposition for the corporate. There are only three aspects for which IoT is recognized in the industry. The first is that whether IoT is going to improve my operation efficiency, cost, can it create new products or maybe a business model for me, or can it drive, I'll say, a excellent engagement experience for my customer so that they become loyal and I get a repeated business from them. So if the answer is yes for all three or any of these three, then IoT has, I'll say, really played its role. Couple of things I wanted to mention now, that if you are implementing IoT project, what should be considered, or while you implement. Yeah. So if you look at partner ecosystem, so this is one of the important topic, although it may not be related directly to technology. But if you look at what we are doing at this moment, we are in a pilot phase, and we say that, okay, connect the sensors, get the data, do some analytics, prove the POC, and that is where we are satisfied, and then we will see that we will try to roll out. But if you try to roll out the IoT at its full strength, take the example of connected car. So if you are doing a pilot with 10 cars, it is still okay. But when you roll out the connected car scenario, say example of Maruti, if it rolls out, then they have ecosystem is very, very important, and they have to address repairs, warranty, replacement, putting the SIM and everything. So that partner ecosystem, partners for service, partner of telecom network, because you need to partner with telecom network also. It cannot be a dedicated network there. So partner ecosystem is very, very important. The next is platform. So what I've seen in my whatever engagements I had on the pilot projects, they, as I said, they would like to have device connected and done with it. But when you increase the number of devices from say tens to actual lot of millions, you need to have a dedicated gateway or dedicated platform which can connect to all devices, which can connect to the analytics, which can help you connecting the third party devices. Rather than a point to point, it can be a hub kind of a scenario. And that's where you should always consider a platform for IoT and not the mere point to point connection. A couple of things will while you design the platform. So first and foremost is that data needs context. So if you want to analyze any data, yeah, data need to be a timestamp data, and that's how you will able to create sequence of events, and that's how you will able to dig out the insight from those sequence of events, that what might have gone wrong, or how you are going to predict what will go wrong. Yeah, so data has to be a timestamp data, should have the context, and that's the important thing. Then the power of big data and analytics. As I said, the volume is humongous. It is, we have seen this example, and it is kind of a 360-degree data. It is not only the sensor data, but you have data coming from, say, handwritten, I'll say documents. The data can come from CCTV photographs or videos. Data can come from social media. And you need to have a powerful data analytics and I'll say big data tools to manage this. Yeah. The third important aspect is that when you roll out, I'll say IoT applications at a larger scale, you also have to look at the asset management for their firmware upgrade with, I'll say, over the air kind of a scenario. If that is not there, it will be a problematic, because if you want to upgrade the firmware, the way our firmware gets upgraded in phones, the similar methodology has to be adopted, and people have started looking at it for the firmware upgrade or minor changes over the air. Yeah, and these are very, very important things. We talked about security. So security needs to be looked at across all the points, from your sensor to your local network, which is in last mile connectivity, to global network, to cloud infrastructure, and to computing device, to the applications, right? So there are four broad aspect of security when you have to analyze it. So the first is applications. So if the application is a simple application like the fitness band kind of a scenario, the security aspect is different compared to, say, the IoT getting implemented at power station, or IoT is getting implemented at hospital, or it gets implemented for I'll say aircraft and air traffic. Yeah. The second important aspect is integration. We talked about it, because with IoT we have to cover or evaluate the end-to-end integration risk, because here you are going to connect your system with third-party system, and it throws I'll say the threat when it comes to the integration. The third is the availability. You have to assess impact due to non-availability of security measures, and the confidentiality. The impact of losing out the confidential data needs to be also ascertained, right? So as when you design a system, it should be secured by design rather than an afterthought. Yeah, so definitely the things may go wrong because we are in a learning curve, and if we are on a learning curve, the things will definitely go wrong, and there would be a compromise. But you need to evaluate that how you will throw out the compromise, I'll say credentials out of the system, and still able to work out the solution, and ensure that your solution is continuously going on. Yeah, the another aspect is protocols and gateway. We all have learned that 7 layers of OSI protocol and all that stuff, and that goes true for IoT also. Although people are talking about they are standardizing on the protocol like MQTT or CoAP, and industry, definitely there is more secure protocols like IEC protocols, but that is one of the important aspects. On the gateway, the edge analytics is very, very critical, because the kind of data which you are going to handle is humongous. Yeah, and if the decision is kept at central location, there would be a lot of latency which will get added. Now, to avoid this, for the critical action, the action should be taken at edge. And we in power industry, we are using this technology for edges now. In fact, a typical example is an intelligent load shedding system. We have seen very recently the Mumbai has gone blackout, and generally whenever there is, you have a generation and you have a load and there is a balance. So if generation trips, you need to also reduce the equivalent load, else you will get into a tripping of another generator, and that will create the complete, I'll say, shading has to happen within 100 milliseconds. And if you need to achieve that, it has to use the edge analytics. It cannot be done by a central location. So that is very, very important. The another aspect, while you design the IoT from a gateway perspective, is store and forward. Yeah, because the gateway cannot be a very, I'll say, the data is huge, and if you lose out the communication for particular time, the gateway should able to store that data and forward it whenever it re-establish the connectivity, because that is how you will not lose the sequence of events, and you cannot, and then you will not lose the analytics behind on top of it. Yeah, let's look at couple of use cases, or I'll say real examples. Favorite example for everyone is a connected car. I mean, let's look at this scenario. Connected car, on one fine day you decide to go out on a long drive. Yeah, you got into a car, you put the destination on your navigation, and you started off. That's a normal scenario, right? The navigation detected that there is a roadblock ahead of 1 kilometer, and navigation gave you alternate route. So you took the alternate route and you started driving. The system detected that you are running out of fuel and recommends you that there is a fuel station about a kilometer away. So it's recommended that you get your tank full. You have done that, and this is normal scenario. Everyone is experiencing this, because the cars which have manufactured after 2000 all are equipped with sensors. About 60 to 100 sensors for the normal range car. If it is high-end luxury cars, the sensors can go up to 300 to 400 as well. Yeah, and the example I've shared about navigation is a standard example. Now you have started driving, and on a bad road, you got stuck. You are unable to take out, your wheel got stuck, you are unable to take out, you are accelerating, but you are not able to take out your vehicle, you are stuck. And to your rescue, in 10 minutes, you get a call saying, sir, ma'am, I think your car is stuck and we are sending the towing vehicle to your location. You are stranded at this location. It's a delight experience for a customer. And how it is happened, right? So there are three parameters in this scenario. One is definitely your coordinates of navigation. So your coordinates of navigation. Second is your acceleration, and third is your gear ratio. Yeah. So if you are moving, definitely your coordinates of navigation will move. You will accelerate, and at the same time you will also change the gear. Yeah. So that is how it says that you are moving. But in this situation, what has happened? Your coordinates were not moving. You are only accelerating to come out from that situation, and your gear was not moving. So out of three, two were a bad, I'll say, indicator, and that's where it has alerted the call center saying that something is wrong and please help out. So here the service provider has, I'll say, given you a, I'll say, enlightened experience and bought your loyalty. When you have come back from tour, you get a call saying that you have completed so many kilometers, it is overdue for, I'll say, a service, and these are the things which may create problem like brake pad or maybe a coolant and all, with which you will surely submit your car for a garage, because you know that the guys who have helped me, they are concerned about the health of my car and also the safety for me. So this is typical scenario. The companies use the data for early detection, and they call out or they recall the vehicles if there is problem any, because they have connected the vehicles. All millions of vehicles are connected, and if the problem is with majority of vehicles, it is easier for them to identify the problem and recall the vehicle. And that's where you will see a lot of recall. I'll say manufacturers are recalling their vehicles if they find a small problem as well. The another aspect is the insurance company. Yeah, so insurance company is also using this data. So if you go to Bajaj Allianz side, they have created a separate package where they give you a dongle which needs to be put in your vehicle, which reads entire vehicle data using the internal sensors. So it studies your driving behavior, whether you are a rough driver or I'll say sophisticated driver, how you do a maintenance, the frequency of maintenance, and so on and so forth, and decide to give you I'll say a discount in the premium, or may penalize you while you renew the policies. And this is the example of creating a new business. So I always take this example because it has impacted all three aspects we just spoke about. So customer delightness, it addresses the improvement of the I'll say reducing the operational cost, or improving the operational efficiency, and it also creates new business model like the insurance user. The another example as a service. The pioneer, or I'll say the implementer for this, is Eureka Forbes in India. So what they have done, they when we have the purifier at home, the first is there is a cost when we purchase it, and then there is a recurring cost for the annual maintenance. Yeah, and this cost is a substantial cost when it comes to a commercial establishments. Yeah, and for that, Eureka Forbes came out with a innovative idea. This is that you no longer have to purchase the purifiers. I will charge you for utilization of water. So they worked out that time 2 rupees per liter kind of a water. They have used all these sensors which I have mentioned here, and by which they are charging a user or commercial establishment for utilizing the liters of water consumed. Yeah, and that's how they have ensured not only the capex, but also the recurring revenue, or AMC revenue, is coming back to them. The another example, and is another innovative example from India. I don't want to name it here because we have signed in India. So here this example is tire as a service. So there are two big tire manufacturers from India. So what they said, again, this is for the commercial fleet. So if you look at a commercial vehicle or big trucks or trailers, they travel from I'll say Kashmir to Kanyakumari in a month, and within a month they almost cross the thousands or more than very huge number of kilometers. It is even in lakhs. Yeah, in 3 months times or 4 months time, and with this lakhs of kilometers, they need to replace the tire very often. And when it's a big trailer, about 12 tires to be replaced. Now the cost of replacing the tire is very, very huge. Yeah, and it is recurring at a frequency of 3 months. And here if you look at the trailer operator or fleet operator, so today if he has taken the tire of X manufacturer, and after 3 months Y manufacturers offer him a discount, he will go with Y manufacturer. The third time he may go with Z manufacturer, and there is no loyalty. So these two companies, they wanted to ensure that after they sell their product once, there should be a repeated business for them. So what they have done, they said that you don't have to purchase tires. We will provide you tire free of cost. We will maintain the tire, and that's how the parameters which are mentioned. In fact, if you look at this black, see this particular sensor. This is actually we got it developed with one of the startup from Bangalore, and it has temperature, pressure, battery life. It gives you acceleration and all those stuff, and with which we could able to detect that if the tire is not inflated well, and if it is not inflated well, there is an automated message which goes to a truck driver, and then they have lined up the roadside tire service centers where the truck driver can take their trucks and get these free of cost. And when it serves the life, there is a free replacement, and again you have to pay the services charge. It's called tire as a service. In industry, we are using predictive maintenance. It's a common, I'll say, scenario where we are able to predict the failure of the machines, and that's how we from the I'll say conventional periodic maintenance, we have moved to a predictive maintenance. The another example in industry is microgrid. So this example is from US. So in US, what they have done, they have, I'll say, a township, and in that township, it's row houses or bungalow township where everyone has a rooftop solar. And the rooftop solar, as you know, may not fulfill the entire demand. So in addition to rooftop solar, they have been also supplied from the local electricity board, the normal power supply. Now, what they have created a microgrid, and the entire transaction has been routed through blockchain because it is more secured. The meter they have put in is kind of a two-way meters. So if person is consuming the electricity from the board, they have to pay. If he is going out, the generation which is there from his rooftop solar is got added to the grid, and where he gets discounted. And this is all securely managed by blockchain. So that's another example. I don't know whether you guys have read about Ollie. I think there are ample of, I'll say, articles, videos on internet about this Ollie. I mean, this is a classic example of digitalization. So there are three technology providers who came in together. So first is that this is a commercial minibus which accommodates about 12 passengers. It is there in US. The entire bus has been 3D printed by Local Motors. The entire drive mechanism and sensors or instrumentation part has been provided by Siemens, and the intelligence part, the cognitive analytics part has been provided by IBM. It talks to you in a natural language. That's where the power of cognitive IoT comes in picture. You talk to Ollie, ask the charges for the destination. It guide you where you should get down. You can chat or you can discuss or get Ollie's advice for a good restaurant in the area for say seafood. Even if there is a bad weather, I mean, Ollie can even detect that if your destination is A and weather is going to be a bad, it advises you or reminds you to take your umbrella because there are going to be a rain. And it's very innovative approach. I think there are a couple of such mini buses which are flying successfully, and this is driverless. Yeah, and this is driverless, and that's where it exploited the entire IoT scenario with the minibus. Let's look at another example. Yeah, we know this Mars rover. Just to give you the idea, in weight it is about 2,000 pounds. Size wise, if you look at the size, it is 10 feet long, about 9 feet wide, and 7 to 8 feet of a height. So it's a huge, I'll say, rover. You have to launch this from Earth to Mars, which is about 250 millions of kilometers away from Earth. Yeah. The speed with which it travels is about 300 times of Formula 1 racing car. I mean, if you know Formula 1 racing car, the top speed is about 375 km per hour. And this is 300 times more than that. Yeah, the temperature range, yeah, from I'll say Earth to Mars is about 3000 degree Fahrenheit. Well, you can understand the complexity if you wanted to launch the Mars rover to Mars. It is more complex, and you need to do this very systematically. And what we have done, we have actually worked with NASA, and we have simulated the successful landing about 8,000 times before it actually landed to Mars. And in the first landing has become successful. So before that first landing, you will not believe the 8,000 times we have simulated the landing of the Mars rover, correct? So this has been created with number of sensors. We actually created the room where the entire atmospheric, I'll say, scenario has been created like a Mars, and we have done entire, I'll say, algorithms to check whether it really get landed. And when it got launched, for it has been landed successfully in its first attempt. Let's look at another example. So this is a Swedish company, Renfe, and they operate a very high-speed trains like the bullet train, which we are now talking about, Ahmedabad, Mumbai bullet kind of scenario, from Madrid to Barcelona, right? And if you look at the distance, it's about 500 kilometers, and it takes about 2 hours. The price wise it is very economical, but still it was not successful because every time it was getting late by an hour or maybe two or so. And the business people who used to take this train, they have gone out of this and they started taking flights with this Renfe, and we started predicting the failures. And now if you look at this, it is on time arrival is 99.4%. So with this 99.4% of on time arrival, Renfe has introduced a scheme to their consumers saying that if the train is delayed more than 15 minutes, we will refund 100% of your ticket money. And you won't believe, in last 1 year, 60% business travelers have come back to this and they have started using this bullet train. So that's the beauty of predictive analytics and the IoT. I think share this. This is the maturity model and how it will move. So it will initially, as I said, the companies will use it for their purpose. Then the user will get engaged. You will have connected appliances, and then the more cognitive, intelligent ecosystem. With this, just to summarize, the IoT is not a technology. We talked about it. The most of the IoT data is not used currently. So this example is either from manufacturing or from oil and gas or energy, where these industries are highly automated and already instrumentation is in place. So rather than putting sensor, you should think of utilizing the existing data to predict the failures and all that stuff. The third point is the business outside your industry may know something you don't. The classic example is that if you remember, if we do any transaction on our debit card or credit card or even a net banking, by the time you finish the transaction, you get an SMS alert. Yeah. And to get this SMS alert, and if you look at the scenario 5 years back, the SMS used to come after maybe an 15 minutes or so. Now the SMS comes by the time you finish the transaction, and that's where the financial institutes have also adopted two-factor authentication, like password plus an OTP. Now the IT world has started working on the streams technology. So earlier the data analytics was on the data in a resting mode, whereas the streams, as you all know, works on the data in motion. Now this has been developed for banking and finance industry. But when, and at the same time, if you look at the power industry, we were struggling because there were many blackouts. Yeah, and the blackouts to be, I'll say, arrested within 100 millisecond, otherwise the disaster can happen. And then we realized that the streams technology, which has been developed for banking application, can be adopted to power industry and can be used for the intelligent load shedding. And that's how this has been used. Yeah, so that's one example. And you should always look beyond your industry or your business and try to see that the technology which is available, can I use it for my application? We talked about big data analytics. That's the key. Edge analytics, and we talked about security. So this is in nutshell, when you consider any development of IoT application, you need to consider these factors, and these are very, very crucial. So with this, I come to an end of this presentation. I'm open for questions, and if I'm able to answer it now, I'll answer it. Else, I'll park that and come back to you guys. So yeah, over to you.
Meantime, sis, I would like to ask you, so the example which you gave, like the car, if the wheel is stuck somewhere and
Yes.
you receive a call, a helping call,
Yeah.
it's really a nice gesture. But how about the privacy preservation of the users? Because somewhere the person is unaware that his data is being shared.
So there is very thin line of, I'll say, data privacy and the use of data, right? In car scenario, you need to take a call, and that's where the industry has allowed it, because it is not getting your personal data. It is only taking the vehicle's data and the movement, and it is being used for, I'll say, benefit of the user, benefit of the manufacturing industry. But in certain cases, like as I said, the social media data is also used in retail industry. So there are restrictions. So there, what this industry has decided, that they will not share the consumer data, but they will mask out the name and other stuff, but they will only share probably the gender and the whereabouts. So if you look certain scenarios, if you're going to a mall, you may get SMS saying that there is a discount scheme happening in this particular brand and please come and visit. So these guys, they don't know who you are. They only know that you are either a male, female, and they know that you are in the particular location. So depends on that, they throw the, I'll say, advertisement saying that there is this scheme and please visit and do this. Yeah. So that's how each industry is looking at the data, and they are looking at saying that whether this data to be shared as is or that should be masked. So there is a different body which is working on data privatization.
Thank you so much, sir. So there are a lot of messages flowing about an excellent session, and thank you. And to
Thanks a lot.
express vote of thanks, I would request again Dr. Vinit Kotak, sir, to please come online. I think probably we've lost connection with Dr. Vinit Kotak, sir. Sir, I would like
Yes.
to say the valuable knowledge that you have shared and the wonderful examples that you gave. So, right, all the real life examples, starting from very simple things to very futuristic things. You covered almost everything in the strata that is possible. A real keynote session, what it could be. Thank you so much, sir. And we request you to accept this memento, a virtual memento, as a token of gratitude, as a token of appreciation from Cheyenne Anchor Kachi Engineering College, IT department.
Thanks a lot. I think it's been honor for me also, as you invited me, and I really appreciate this. This all the best to all colleagues. I think this is going to be a great session for you because you are discussing on the innovative technologies. I'm seeing a lot of messages. If there are any queries, I'll definitely come back to you on a specific query. And thank you very much for hearing me out, listening to me, and patiently. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I would now request Head of the IT Department, Swati Nadkarni ma'am, to please address the audience.
If I can drop now, right? Because I need to get into another meeting. If there is anything specific, you can ping me or you can call me. But for time being, I'm dropping out. And if there are any queries, please send it on my email.
Surely, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank
It
you.
was a privilege having you here, and also if we have any guidance needed in future, also we'll surely bring you. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, happy to support. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you, sir. So good afternoon, everyone. It is a really pleasure to address all of you on this very first day of our second slot of STTP, which is funded by AICT and IST. So we had very good speakers right from morning. Around 10:30 we started our session with Abhijit sir and Sankhe sir, who have given us insights about what applications could actually change our scenario and thinking. Like every day we have new scenarios coming up with this COVID, with energy systems where we have blackouts. So it is actually the ones who are making the application should think about all the aspects as a whole, not only from the application point of view but security point of view also, and as well as how to make it economical. At the same time, how it should, rather than starting from scratch, like Sankhe sir has told us, how we could actually use the technology which is already there, is what I liked from the talk of Sankhe sir. And actually Sankhe sir has given us insights right from energy systems to the industry 5.0, as well as applications right from energy systems to having different startups also. And Abhijit sir has also given us examples which show us how we could actually enhance our business and develop applications which could help to the mankind. So I'm sure all the participants have been enlightened with both the inaugural as well as keynote addresses. On behalf of Shyamakar Kachi Engineering College, I like to thank these two dignitaries as well as our own dignitaries, our principal Dr. Bhavesh Patel sir, Vice Principal Dr. Vineet Kotak sir, the deans and heads of department who have been attending this inaugural ceremony, as well as the entire IT department team who have been working day and night to put this STTP, the flow, the speakers into the place. And I'm sure that whatever the coordinators have planned will definitely help all the participants. And I'm sure that all the participants are, since they are faculty, they are used to listening and delivering sessions. So this particular refresher program is not going to be a bookish or technical where all the concepts will be given to you, but rather we would be happy if you are actually taking this STTP to broaden the scope. And there will be, of course, technical sessions where there will be simulations as well as other tools explained. But we would be very happy, and we would think that this STTP or this refresher program is successful only if you are actually taking out projects, and actually there are some startups, and actually the students are enlightened with real life projects. So we look forward to collaboration with industry as well as to the different college participants who are there. And thank you to all the participants to patiently listening to the inaugural sessions, and happy learning to all of you. I also thank AICT and IST for sponsoring this event, because without them we wouldn't have such a long list of speakers lined for us. So thank you to all the participants and dignitaries who have been sparing their valuable time and actually making this inauguration a grand success. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for motivating us, for taking this ahead. It is said that well begun is half done. So we had a very nice beginning where we were very strongly motivated by Mr. Abhijit Umathe sir, and the keynote address which gave a gist of everything that is possible in securing IoT systems by Mr. Vikrant Sanke sir. So thank you. And as it was said in the sessions, the most important thing is sensors and drivers. So we'll come to the sensors and drivers of this refresher program. That is the coordinators. And now I welcome our coordinator, Smita Bansod, to take it over.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Abhijit sir and Vikrant sir, to focus on IoT importance in recent year, as well as the way of developing the secure application with a real-time example. Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful session. Now there is announcement for dear audience. Please fill the feedback link which is posted in the chat box. And thank you to each and every one of your presence here today. Also the lovely audience, thank you. Looking forward to meet you in all the sessions. Okay, so next session is by Dr. John Gomes, ma'am, which is scheduled at 1:45 sharp. So please join on time. Happy learning to all. So